Okay, so today we're going to talk sample size and data collection techniques. So sample size, pretty quickly, and just a fast overview. We've kind of looked at sample size a bit throughout these videos so far. We've compared it with a census, census being everyone in the population, sample just being a representative or a small selection across that population. So basically, we want to kind of look at what type of sample would represent a population better. Now, generally, you want one that has enough people or enough of the items that it covers every parameter within that population. You sample from every aspect, every variable is covered. You also need to understand that the larger the sample size, the better your statistical outcomes will match the outcomes of a census. So just like in probability, you know, if you flip a coin just once or twice, it may not match your theoretical probability of 50-50, 50% chance. But if you flip it 100 times and then flip it 1,000,000 times, when you work out your actual probability statistics, you will be closer and closer to that theoretical probability. So the same happens here with, because it's statistics, the same will happen here. The larger the sample, the closer you will get to the results of a census. So basically, if you have an entire population, this is everything in the population, everyone in Australia, every piece of furniture in school, every single student at this school, and then this is basically sample. So it's a little bit. Now, if this was everyone at the school, okay, so everyone at the school is a population. This sample, I would need to have all year levels, and a fairly even amount of all of those. I would need to have both genders. So because I'm just looking, the population is just students, and it's still students. I want boys, I want girls, I want all year levels. I want a nice mix of ages, because that doesn't always happen. You know, you're not all the same age in the same year level. I would want different ethnicities. So I wouldn't want everyone to be exactly from the same racial background. You know, we've got lots of different people from lots of different cultural backgrounds here, and we want to make sure, if we were getting a sample, that we're kind of hitting on all of those, because all of those respondents will come with different preconceived notions, different values, different ideas. So this is just a few of the things you would have to look at, yeah? So if you want to survey a really large group, you often can't, it's not practical to do a census. So a sample is the way to go. Now, the best way is to have a random sample. So if you were to put every single student into an Excel sheet, everyone in there, and then basically use a random generator to choose, your 300 students that you wanted to survey, it is much more likely that you will get a representative sample than if you were choosing them yourself. So random samples are normally the way to go. Now basically, now we'll talk techniques. So data collection techniques are different. There's a few different ways. So basically we can do them. We can collect, organize, presenting, analyzing, interpreting. This is basically the steps you'll take, particularly in your assignment. But this is statistics. Okay, so yay for stats. Love stats. So statistics basically follows this pattern: collect, organize, represent, analyze, and interpret. Now the techniques, I possibly should have actually written that over here. the techniques used, I say, so how it's actually done, well, there's a few different ways. So collecting, we've got like observations, we can do interviews, we can use existing records or surveys. Okay, so I'm going to write all these, but you should pause the video and actually write these all down. Organising. So this is where we organise the data we collect into tables or lists, that kind of thing. When we then present it, so that organising, so that it's ordered and we can then make use of it. So presenting it, that's where we kind of look at graphs. We present the information in a graph. The reason we then present it in a graph is so that we can analyse it. So once we have the data organised and then presented together in a graphical display, we can find trends and patterns, and we can do things like mean, median, mode, even standard deviation, which you're going to learn. So basically we can then do all those sorts of calculations and identifying of patterns to analyse. Okay, that's where we break it all down and see what that data actually means. Last of all is the interpretation. So that's drawing it all together, and this is making conclusions. So that's where analysing is where we pull it apart to understand what it means. Interpreting is where we decide what it means. And then we can, that whole thing together, we can present as a report, which is what your first assignment is going to be. So, I guess lastly, we can sort of look at basic data collection. So if we observe, take notes, squeaky pen. This is observation. Then if we sort of like give out a questionnaire, okay, so have a look over here and think, all right, so if we give out that questionnaire to like 20 students, yeah, then we're taking a sample. And then basically if we then give that questionnaire to the whole school, everyone in the school, every student, that's the census. Okay, so just a quick reminder of those things that we've kind of covered so far. Okay, so make sure that, stand over here where I don't have writing on my face, make sure that you really understand the difference between a census and a sample, why we use a sample, how we actually collect a sample, and then, that sort of statistical process that we go through, all of the different techniques that we use in order to collect, analyse and interpret data. This will be really important, this process and those techniques, because these are the things that you're going to be doing in your assessment. This is what statistics is all about.